Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to another day of learning online. Today I'm going to start off with science, so let's get to it. As always, class pages, science. Make sure you're on week 1 and that you see week 1 assignments right in front of you. As always, click on the blue hyperlink. Yesterday, if you remember, we did Earth in space, so obviously we're not doing that again. Today we're focusing on the first hyperlink and the last hyperlink. We're going to do 2 of those pages. So we're going to do weather and climate down here. So I'm just going to quickly exit out of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the first investigation and we're going to click on the last investigation, and you're going to see them pop up at the bottom. This right here, once you click on it, it's going to bring up your assignment. Now, the ones on Unified Classroom, as you can see, you can't type in, but I do have a friend that was kind enough to somehow convert this into a document where you can write into it. So here we go. Notice how it's the same assignment, but on top there's blue. And if you click on it, now you can actually write your name, and then you can write your answers in the spaces below as well. So I'm going to send this one to your parents. So hopefully you can just type right in it. But know that if you do use the one on Unified Classroom, you're not going to be able to type in it. You can print it out and you can write in pencil if you want, but I'll send you this one. So let's get to it. This is a science assignment. However, if you notice it says math extension, that's because it's connecting to math. And this is something we did in class. So if you remember back in September when our experiments were all about water, hot and cold water. So let's get to it. When my family goes camping, we freeze water for the coolers in the plastic jars with lids. My mother asked me to freeze 3 jars of water. I filled the jars all the way to the top, screwed on the lids, and put the jars in the freezer. 2 days later, I went to the freezer and found that all 3 jars had burst. My mom gave me 3 new jars. She suggested that I put in less water so that when it froze, ice would fill the jar just to the brim. 1 jar held 500 milliliters. 1 held 1,000 milliliters. And the third was a 2-liter bottle. I remembered from science class that when we froze 45 milliliters of water, the ice expanded to fill 50 milliliters of space. How can you use this information to figure out how much water I should add to each jar so that when it freezes, ice fills the jar just to the brim? Show your math in the space below. Okay, so if you remember some of the experiments that we did, we learned that when you have water and you freeze it, the water rises because it expands and the ice takes up more space. So there's a very important line in here that will help you figure out your answer. So you need to be a detective and figure that out. Right over here where it says 1 jar held 500 milliliters of water, 1 held 1,000, and a third held 2 liters. The second line after that is I remembered from science class that when we froze 45 milliliters of water, the ice expanded to fill 50 milliliters of space. So first they started off at 45 milliliters of water. But at the end, they ended up having 50 milliliters of water. So with that being said, we need to do some math. How much of a difference did it make when they put 45 milliliters and then it rose to 50? 45 plus what? I'm going to write that. 45 plus what gives you 50 milliliters. This is a simple math problem. 45 plus what gives you 50 milliliters. So once you figure out this right here, now you know how much the ice rises. So now you know how much to fill your jars in. So how can you use this information to figure out how much water I should add to each jar? Well, if you scroll down, again, show your work all down here. But when you get down to the bottom of this assignment, once you figure out what goes here, now you know if it's a 500 milliliter jar, obviously you cannot fill all the water up to 500 milliliters. Instead, you need to go backwards this many times, whatever this is right here, whatever that number is, and that's how much you fill your jar with. So it's a 500 milliliter jar, subtract whatever this number is right here, and that's how much you fill your jar up. So 500 minus this number right here will give you this answer right here. Again, for this one, you have 1,000 minus this number up here, and then you put the answer here. Okay? And for the 2 liters of water, instead of doing 2 liters of water, what would you do to make sure that the water will not overflow? So put your answer here, and that's all you have to do. Again, show your work over here. So you're going to show your work. Once you do 45 plus this number, you're going to then show me 500 milliliters minus that number up here. So I'm going to put that blank, equals your new number that would go down below over here. Okay, and do that for each one of these, and show your work, for this one, but then just write your answer in here. Okay, boys and girls? After you do that one, you have another assignment, and it's another math extension problem of the week. And my friend also converted this one so you can type it in, so I'll send this one to your parents. And for this investigation, some students set up an investigation to find out what effect surface area has on the rate of evaporation. They used 4 different containers: a round cake pan, a water glass, a soup bowl, and a glass and an olive jar. They put 100 milliliters of water in each jar. So here you go. We have a table. So this is the cake container that they used: a cake pan, water glass, soup bowl, and olive jar. And this is how much water they put in. This is how big, this is how big the container is. So 23 centimeters, 7 centimeters, 11 centimeters, and 5 centimeters. Students observed the containers for 6 days. These are all the 6 days. They measured the water on days 2, 4, and 6. The results of their measurements are in the charts below. So, here you see the cake pan. On day 2, they only had 75 milliliters of water. But on day 4, if you see, it decreases, and they had only 50 milliliters of water. On day 6, it decreased even more, and it's 25 milliliters of water. Remember, evaporation means it starts to disappear. It goes away. So over the 6-day period, you see that the water becomes less and less. So again, for the water glass, 90 milliliters of water, then it drops down to 80, and then it drops down to 70. For the soup bowl, it starts off at 80 milliliters of water, then it drops down to 60, then it drops down to 40. Then for this one, 95, 90, 85. In which container will all of the water evaporate first? By looking at these numbers on day 6, which of these containers will disappear the first? Which will be the one that disappears first? Will it be the cake pan? Will it be the water glass, the soup bowl, or the olive jar? So write your answer below and you could type in as you could see. So which one of these containers will it evaporate the fastest as the days go on? If conditions stay the same, on which day will all the water evaporate from its container? So answer that question by looking at day 6 again. If the conditions stay the same, on which day will all of the water evaporate from this container? So this container up here that you said. Show your math on the back of this page. You don't have to, just write the answer. In which container will all of the water evaporate last? Which one would take the longest to evaporate last? A hint for you would be to look at the last numbers again, day 6, which is the largest number on day 6. Obviously, that larger number is evaporating the slowest. So you want to choose the one that would evaporate the slowest. And you would write the name of that container here. And again, if conditions stay the same for that container from this question, on which day will all of the water evaporate from this container? So you're going to have to continue with your math on day 8, on day 10, on day 12. How long will it take for it to evaporate? On which day? And then write your answer. And it says to show your work, so you might want to do that on a piece of paper. That's it. You just have to do 2 of those worksheets, this one and this one. All right, that's it. Bye.